Buju Banton's controversial case evidence caught on newly unsealed undercover videos.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
One of the world's biggest reggae stars, a Grammy Award-winning artist from Jamaica, has been locked inside a US prison for nearly a decade. Buju Banton is set to be released in a matter of months, but the cocaine trafficking case against him still infuriates his most ardent supporters, who believe he landed behind bars after being set up and seduced by a US government informant. He was entrapped. Just follow the case. One longtime fan, 55-year-old Alvin Walfall of Bowie, Maryland, said it was entrapment. Walfall is one of nearly 5,000 people who signed on to a series of online petitions calling for Banton's freedom and questioning the case against him. For years, US officials demanded that a key piece of evidence, undercover video from Banton's last meeting with the informant, stay under seal, hidden from public view. But ABC News appealed to a federal judge and the video has now been unsealed. It offers the most complete account of how Banton, 44-year-old, ended up in a US prison, convicted of 2 counts for his role in a conspiracy to sell cocaine. But Banton has maintained his innocence, insisting he never intended to go through with a drug deal and was only guilty of running my mouth. Banton is a prolific dancehall artist, known around the world for his aggressively gruff voice and bursting stage manner, and his songs such as Pull It Up and Bonafide Love remain a staple on American radio stations. In the past year alone, music megastars Rihanna and Sean Paul have openly expressed support for him. This case is a true miscarriage of justice, and it still keeps me up at night, Banton trial attorney David Oscar Marcus told ABC News in an email. There was no evidence to support the jury's verdict. Prosecutors and the US appeal court disagreed, with the court saying Banton demonstrated familiarity with the drug trade and deliberately laid the groundwork for a drug deal. Banton, whose real name is Mark Murray, did not respond to letters from ABC News seeking comments for this article. Spokesmen for the investigators and prosecutors declined to comment. The government's entire investigation of Banton started with what both sides acknowledged was a chance encounter aboard an international flight. He had the worst luck that any of us could have, Marcus told jurors about his client. Flying from Madrid to Miami after a European tour in July 2009, Banton happened to be seated next to a man named Alex Johnson. The two had never met, but as they both settled into the 8-hour flight, they began chatting and drinking together. We talked about women, we talked about cars, Banton recalled at trial. We were a bit loud, we were drinking immensely. At some point, for reasons that are still in dispute, the talk turned to cocaine. Banton claimed to have close ties to drug traffickers in the Caribbean, a claim investigators later found no evidence to support. We were both trying to impress each other, as Banton remembered it in court. Sitting beside Buju on the plane, Johnson boasted about his own ties to the international narcotics trade, describing himself as a Colombian transporter with a sailboat who can move drugs and money to the United States. Johnson, however, was actually an ex-con who, according to court records, made millions of dollars working over 14 years as an informant for the Drug Enforcement Administration and other law enforcement agencies. And Johnson had just found a new target. Before the plane landed, Banton wrote his telephone number, his real name, and artistic name on a napkin, Johnson testified later. In the week after they returned to Florida, Banton and Johnson met twice at a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale, where they again spent several hours drinking and jabbering. I wasn't there to discuss any drugs with Mr. Johnson, Buju insisted during the trial, saying he simply found Johnson engaging and fun. But with Johnson's prompting, the pair rambled through grandiose ideas tied to drugs. Johnson wanted to join forces with the Colombian dealers Banton claimed to know. Banton proposed their own operation, buying low-priced cocaine in Colombia and smuggling it into Europe. Johnson suggested hiding cocaine in seafood shipments and paying off European customs officials. Throughout the chatter, Johnson repeatedly pressed Banton to come see his sailboat in Sarasota, calling it an important step in their endeavor. Banton, meanwhile, had his own message to emphasize. I never deal, I am always an investor.
In my country, I'm an investor. You're a transporter. I'm an investor.
Though the reggae star had money to provide, he did not want to be the one meeting with buyers or sellers. Banton told Johnson, I stay on the outside, he said in a secretly recorded conversation.
That is why I tell you, I cannot be in the field with negotiating and talking to people. In this age and in this time, it's hard for me to find people to trust like that. It's very hard. When you're talking about money of high volume, I'm never going to jail. I'm going to tell you that straight up. I'm never going to get mixed up with anything. Because what I do is what I do. I invest. I stay on the outside, yeah?
Banton and Johnson never settled on a plan that first week, as they parted ways agreeing to stay in touch. Over the next 5 months, however, their communication stalled. Recorded phone calls from the time since release by authorities indicate that while Johnson repeatedly reached out to Banton asking to meet or otherwise catch up, Banton was not eager to reconnect. Oftentimes, Banton told Johnson he was too busy or too tired to meet.
When are you coming this way?
I'm not coming that way for now, Holmes. I'm on tour now. I'm working.
Oh, you're working. Oh, okay.
I'm on tour.
Well, we'll be in touch.
For 5 months, you have been trying to get him over to see you, and for 5 months, he has either cancelled or said no. Marcus asked Johnson at trial. Yes, Johnson conceded. As Banton later described it, Johnson was always pushing me to come and see him, always calling me, but I would not go. I stayed away from him. He had hidden 20 kilograms of cocaine in the back of an SUV. He pulled out one brick of the jug and handed it to Thomas, who walked the package to a nearby table. Banton followed Thomas to the table and stood next to him for a full minute while Thomas cut into the cocaine. You like it? Johnson asked Banton. I like it, Banton responded. Seconds later, Banton slapped a dash of the cocaine onto his tongue to taste it.
I got tape. Put the tape on.
Banton then left Sarasota for his home in Tamarca, Florida, outside Miami. Video from inside the warehouse was played during Banton's trial and then sealed by the court indefinitely. US officials objected to its release because it contained images of an undercover detective and a confidential informant. But after arguing in a letter to the court that the public had a right to see the video, ABC News persuaded a judge to unseal it. Despite what the video showed, authorities said they were not prepared to take anyone into custody on the day of the warehouse meeting.
That's a good deal. As long as everything is straight, man, trust me, it can happen.
Junior, one.
That's my thing. As long as you good, I know he's good, he know I'm good.
Okay,
and I know that guy's good because you know what? You're not gonna see him. All you're gonna see is me.
The deal was still not finalized at that point, correct? Marcus asked Johnson at trial. That is correct, Johnson said, acknowledging the deal was still being negotiated. The day after the warehouse meeting, while Banton was at his home more than 200 miles away, the Georgia man came to a final agreement with Johnson and Thomas. He and an associate would buy 5 kilograms of cocaine for about $135,000 US, and they would send a crony named James Mack to Sarasota to make the exchange. Thomas was to make $10,000 from the deal. It was unclear what, if anything, Banton would get out of it, according to Marcus. After all, even investigators conceded that the specific deal was reached without Banton's knowledge, and Banton had no connection to Mack or the other Georgia men. On December 10, 2009, while Banton was asleep at his home, Mack, Johnson, and Thomas convened at the warehouse in Sarasota. Thomas brought $135,000 to hand over, and Johnson had a little bag with several kilograms of cocaine in it. Seconds after Mack tested the cocaine, police stormed the warehouse and placed Mack and Thomas under arrest. Banton was then arrested at his home. Mack and Thomas quickly pleaded guilty to drug-related charges and have since been released from prison, though Thomas was back in police custody in February for allegedly trying to sell cocaine again. In 2011, Banton was convicted of 2 counts for taking part in a conspiracy to sell cocaine, and despite his efforts to overturn the conviction, a federal appeal court later ruled the evidence on the record supports the jury's conclusion. As prosecutor Jim Preston described it during trial, once Banton introduced Johnson to Thomas, the defendant's role changed from that as an investor to that as a broker, bringing people together for a drug deal. The law is clear according to what U.S. District Court Judge James Moody told jurors before they began deliberating. Even if Banton played only a minor part in the plan, but willfully joined in the plan, on at least one occasion, that is sufficient for you to find the defendant guilty, Moody explained. Moody said there is no entrapment in a case when the government merely provides what appears to be a favorable opportunity for the defendant to commit a crime the defendant was already willing to commit. But Moody added, if there is a reasonable doubt about whether the defendant was willing to commit the crime without the persuasion of the government, then you must find the defendant not guilty. Marcus still insists there is such reasonable doubt. Johnson relentlessly pursued Banton and would not stop trying to turn him into a drug dealer, even though his target repeatedly said no, Marcus told ABC News. During the trial, Banton called Johnson a master manipulator who staged interactions to destroy my life. I talked the talk, but I did not walk the walk, Banton insisted at trial. I did not take any action furthering the deal. I did not give him any money. I did not send him anywhere. I did not accept anything from him. It was all just talk. I am here today for running my mouth, Banton added. I am an innocent man. At one time, many jurors agreed. Banton was actually first put on trial in 2010, but a mistrial was declared after the jury could not agree on a verdict. According to Marcus, jurors voted 9-3 to acquit Banton. For some, their support of Banton is unwavering, even when confronted with the undercover surveillance video from inside the Sarasota police warehouse. Reggae star Stephen Marley, son of Bob Marley, testified for the defense in both of Banton's trials, describing Banton as a voice of the world who never expressed interest in trafficking drugs. Would your view of Buju Banton change if you saw a video of him inspecting a kilogram of cocaine and tasting it? Preston asked Marley in the first trial. No, Marley stated. Similarly, an attorney who helped represent Banton during some of his appeals, Imhotep Al-Kibulan, said such videos of Banton would be a logical part of any government effort to set him up and put him there with the cocaine. For others who have supported Banton, however, the undercover video could make a difference. Nearly 2 years ago, as President Barack Obama was preparing to leave the White House, Philadelphia area DJ Darrell Robinson petitioned the commander-in-chief to pardon Banton. He was being railroaded by people who had their own motives and agendas, Robinson wrote in his petition, which garnered 1,969 supporters. Please find it in your heart to forgive and free an innocent man. Robinson recently told ABC News he followed Banton's case through news accounts, and he believes Banton was targeted over long festering allegations that the reggae star harbors anti-gay sentiments and promoted attacks on gay men in a decades-old song. The allegations made national headlines in 2009 after gay rights group organized protests against Banton, and concert promoters then cancelled several of his US tour dates. Banton has denied subscribing to any such beliefs. Robinson, however, did not know the federal investigation of Banton's healed secret recordings and undercover videos, and when ABC News told him about the recordings, he said they would change my view. You got caught red-handed. You are supposed to do the time, Robinson stated. Banton has now done the time. He has served his sentence and he will be released from prison on December 8, 2018, exactly 9 years to the day since he was caught on camera inside a Sarasota warehouse. Many individuals would have wilted under the injustice of this case, but not Buju, Marcus told ABC News. He is stronger than ever and is ready to show the world the wonderful music he has been working on. Once he's released, he will be deported to Jamaica, US authorities said, and Banton has reportedly started booking shows in the Caribbean for spring 2019, when he kicks off his new Long Walk to Freedom tour.
This video was made possible through the continued generosity of my patrons. To become a patron, follow the link in the description below.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here. Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment below. Remember to like and share the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more awesome content. Follow me on social media and check out the suggested videos on screen. This is Teach saying, until next time, walk good, my friends.